Hello, as you can see on your screen, our next lesson is about distributive property. That's our focus for today. We always will include, kind of wrap in vocabulary. So as I'm taking a look at the top of my screen, it says that we will continue our work writing algebraic expressions using the distributive property. We will label parts of an algebraic expression with their mathematical names. As we look at problem 7-101, it says that write as an algebra tile drawing that shows the result of the first 3 steps of a number trick. What are 3 possible steps that led to this drawing? Well, we need to think about how we can work backwards with this. One of the first things that I remember in the other tricks that we have done is we always pick a number. That's how we always start. So that's how this number trick would begin as well. Pick a number. And when I'm taking a look at this, after I pick a number, it looks like I could add 3. So I could say add 3. And then if I just looked at that part of my picture, that is what step number 2 would show us. Pick a number and then add 3. And then when I'm looking at the final result that I'm seeing here, I have 4 x's and I have 4 groups of 3. So we could say multiply by 4. Some of you might see it a different way. We're still going to start with pick a number, but some of you might have thought that instead of adding first, maybe we multiplied by 4 to start with, or as our second step. So we're going to put multiply by 4, and then we would write add 12. Because if we multiplied by 4 and got that for our second step, when we're looking at what happened here with these individual tiles, or these tiles that are grouped in 3s, we would add 12 because there's 3 and 3 more and 3 more and 3 more, so that would make 12. It does not matter to me which way you saw this. Both of them would be correct. The next thing it asks us to do in the middle of the page is use a variable to write at least 2 expressions that represent the tiles in this problem. One of them has to have parentheses. So the easiest one for me to write is the one that shows 4x and 12. That's the easiest one for me to see. So I'm going to write 4x plus 12. Now this is where the distributive property comes in. And this is where parentheses come in. And if we think back to trying to find the greatest common factor, that's also something that enters into this. And if we go back even further, knowing your multiplication facts is also a bonus. I'm going to look at the 2 numbers that I have here. I've got a 4 that is the coefficient to the x. The 4 tells me how many x's I have. And then I'm going to take a look at the 12. And I'm trying to find the biggest factor that they have in common. And I know that I have, for the number 4, I can do 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. I know that for 12, I can do 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And I could write these out for us so we can see them. 4, we have 1, 2, and 4 are the factors. 12, the factors are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And the biggest one that they have in common is this 4. That's important because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to divide out of 4. So I'm going to have 4x divided by 4 gives me x. And then, so what I did over here was 4x divided by 4 equals x. And then I'm going to do over here, I'm going to do 12 divided by 4, and that gives me 3. So my new problem with parentheses is 4 with a parentheses, x plus 3. Where did I get those two numbers? I got them by doing some division. And I finished with parentheses. All right. Then the next step is to divide by 2. So our drawing would be 2 rows of x's. So I'd have x and x, and then I'd have that. So that's my drawing. And it is directly connected to the one that's up here at the top. Okay, I've taken this and divided it into 2. My expressions would be, I could write it 2x plus 6, or I could think about 2x divided by 2 equals x, and 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So I could take this information and I could write it with parentheses. 2 times the quantity of x plus 3. So there's problem 101. And again, if you'd like to go back and rewind this or go back and see if you can re-watch it so you might get a better understanding the second time around, I would do that. I am going to move on to the next problem, which is 7-103. And for this problem, we are going to be working on our distributive property. And we are going to write an expression that is equivalent or the same as this one. And whenever there's a parentheses, I'm going to multiply the number that's outside the parentheses into the parentheses. And I'm going to get my new expression. So 6 times 8, if I know my facts, I know that that's 48. My addition sign stays the same. 6 times x is simply 6x. I can't write anything else until I know what x is equal to. This one here, I have no parentheses, so I have to look at my 12 and my 4, and I need to think about what times what equals 12 and what times what equals 4. I'm trying to pick the biggest factor, and I know that 4 from my last problem, I was thinking about all the different factors that I had written down in the middle of the previous page, and I know 4 is a factor of 12. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to write it out like this. I'm going to do 12x, try that again. I'm going to write 12x divided by 4, and that's going to give me 3x. I'm going to do 4 divided by 4, that gives me 1. So inside my parentheses, I'm going to put 3x and 1. This one here, the same thing. I need to look for a common factor that these two have. And I know that 7 plus 7 is 14, and 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 21. So I'm going to pull out the 7. Over here, I'm going to do 21x divided by 7. That's going to give me 3x because 21 divided by 7 is 3. And the x just stays there because it's part of the it's part of that term. I'm going to write that over here, 3x. And then 14 divided by 7 equals 2. And that's how I get my numbers for inside the parentheses. And down here, I'm going to look for a common factor of 18 and 12. And I know my multiplication tables real well, but you can certainly look at your multiplication chart and see if you can get some help there. I know that 6 is a factor of both of them, so I'm going to put 6 on the outside of the parentheses and divide 18 by 6, and that gives me 3. So that goes inside the parentheses, plus 12x, 12x divided by 6 gives me 2x. And sometimes the number that has the coefficient, like 3x, is in the front of the parentheses. Sometimes it's in the second position. This depends on where it is in our expression. And then it asks us to write the following number trick as two different expressions. So this would be, pick a number, so that would be x, multiply by 4, so I could put 4 in front of it, add 7, and multiply by 3. So I could do it like that. Or, since I have this written like that, I can multiply the 3 into that one and multiply the 3 into that one, and I would get 12x plus 21. And there's your first expression, and there's your second one, and they are connected. All right, that's all I have for today. Go ahead and finish your assignment. It is in a Google Doc, so you should be able to add your information after you make your copy. Thank you very much.